Órale, Cholo Truck, los tres chingones, boxing shots, all the chingones y chingonas. All right, man. So over the weekend, we went ahead and had this fight with David Morrell against one of these Eastern European dudes. That's right, Holmes. He's from the East Side. Man, you guys know how I feel about these guys, man, from Eastern Europeans. I like them. I do, man. I think these dudes are straight warriors, man. So look, I've never heard of this guy, and I might butcher his name, Imam Katav. I guess that's how you. This is the first time I ever seen him fight, right? And I want to go ahead and break down this fight a little bit more. Yeah, we might touch on it on the Friday live show, but there's so much boxing. This weekend is like boxing mania. I don't know if everybody knows all the boxing that's going to be happening this weekend. It's crazy, dog, for real boxing fans, right? For real boxing fans, it is just boxing mania this Saturday. So we're not going to spend that much time on this fight right here, but I want to go ahead and give it a little bit of love, man, and a little bit of attention because there's some controversy on this one, and rightfully so. So going into this, I never heard of this dude, this Russian guy. I must break you, right? Ivan Drago. I've never heard of this guy. The only thing I knew about him is simply the fact that he's Russian, which is Eastern Europe, right? So those dudes are like disciplined. Those dudes are like raised not to laugh. It's like they're raised homes with no sense of humor whatsoever. It's like everything super serio. Ain't no fun. You know, fun is pain. That's what's fun, right? But there's no laughing, there's no jokes, there's no comedians, there's no anything, there's no nothing. You just get out there in the snow, dog, and go after and start wrestling bears or whatever the heck, dog. But anyway, look, all I knew is that he's Russian and he's 10 and 0, undefeated. That's all I knew about the guy. And I said, with that, because those guys, just like the Cubans, right? Just like the Cubanos, a lot of those guys get into the professional ranks late in their career, right? In their boxing career. It doesn't mean that they start boxing late. It means that they enter the professional ranks late. But a lot of these dudes start boxing when they're little kids. It's just because where they're from, they live for the amateurs. They live for the Olympics. They live to fight for their country. That is their greatest honor. Here in the United States, I mean, yeah, sure, man, you could fight, you could want to go to the Olympics and everything, but national pride is different in some of these other places where that is your entire goal, right? And then you're like, okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and make a couple bucks for myself. But, here it's like, man, you're just from the jump, man, you're just looking at the money, right? Um, so I was like, all right, just with that little bit right there, I gave this guy a pretty good chance. I didn't know much about him. I didn't know anything about him. Just what I said there. He's undefeated. He's Russian, and that's about it. Um, and look, it was a good fight. It was a good fight, man. Shouts to Mikey. He said he saw some highlights from this guy, and that I think Mikey said he was probably picking him to win. I'm not even really sure, but it was a good back and forth fight. This dude, Imam, gave, if I'm saying his name right, he gave David Morrell all that he can handle. Now, here's the thing. Here's the controversial side of it. That it went the distance and they gave it to David Morrell. All right. And I had said something similar on our Friday live. I said, look, I think what's going to happen is that they're going to give it to David Morrell, and it's going to be a little controversial, but a star is going to be born in this Imam Katav guy, right? And that's something what happened. But the difference is that I actually truly believe that he beat David Morrell. I don't think there's any controversy in the fact that Imam actually beat Morrell. Now they gave it to Morrell, But see, here's the thing: as good of a fight it was, and as back and forth as the fight was going, David Morrell did have his moments, just like Imam Khattab did. But the difference was that there was an actual knockdown in this fight. Khattab knocked knocked down David Morrell. Now, to tell me that Morrell came back from a 10-8 round without that knockdown, okay, without that knockdown, I think probably it would have been a draw. Maybe you could probably manipulate some of the close rounds and give them to Morrell. I'm talking about without the knockdown, remember, and probably have Morrell win that fight, possibly. But with the knockdown, with the 10-8 round, there is no way that Morrell came back to win this fight. If you want to manipulate so many rounds to make it a draw with the knockdown, even that is a little absurd. Because what I saw is I saw Khattab win this fight. And Morrell, I don't know what's up with dudes, man, that want to be coloring their hair and putting frost or tips on their freaking on their hair. Like, good gosh, what's going on, man? What's going on with dudes, man? But I'm not gonna get on my soapbox about that. But I thought Imam won. If there was no knockdown, if there were no knockdown whatsoever, and they give it to Morrell, I wouldn't really have that much of an issue with it. I'd be like, okay, all right. It would have been like a pretty, it was a pretty even fight. It was. Like I said, Morrell had his moments. But that knockdown to me, that just put the nail in the coffin, man. To say like, no, hey, Morrell, you gotta either start dominating some of these rounds or score a knockdown yourself. But in no way did I see Morrell come back from a 10-8 round to win this fight. So, I mean, it sucks because this guy is not really known. This Russian guy, he's not known. Nobody knows him. But I wanted to make this separate video here because I want a little bit more eyeballs on it. Because, dog, I mean, you rob some of these guys. Some of these guys don't have big fan bases, right? Nobody knows who the heck this dude is. If anything, people should start, demanding a rematch. I'd like to see them run it again, honestly, because I thought it was a pretty damn good fight. I enjoyed it. And I truly believe Khattab won. That's what I saw. You take away that knockdown, man, I still think Khattab probably would have edged it out. Maybe. But with the knockdown, I mean, to me, it was kind of easy at the end. I was like, damn, man, when that final bell rang, I'm like, ah, man, there it is. Morrell took another L. But what did you guys see? Am I tripping? Did Morrell really win this fight? Did he really come back from a 10-8 round to hands down beat this Russian dude, Imam Khattab? Because it's pretty simple to just kind of rob these dudes. Not to say that David Morrell is a big superstar, because he's not. But he's much more well known than this guy is. Most people don't even know who this dude is. Even real hardcore boxing fans have never heard of this guy. And he comes from a place where there's not a big fan base here in the United States to push him. Where people are going to start, people are going to be outraged about it. Right? There's certain fan bases in boxing where you screw their guy over Oh man, you're gonna hear it, and you're gonna hear it for a long time, years. But then there's certain guys, like some of these Eastern Europeans, where it just kind of falls on deaf ears. But I'd like to see this guy get his run back. I would. Um, I liked him, man. He's aggressive. He seemed pretty fun to watch. So whether they make this fight again, which I don't think they would, the reason why I say I don't think so is because there's nothing really in it for David Morrell, right? Unless like Duke from Rocky Park 5, when he's telling Tommy Gunn, if he refuses, then you insult him. You gotta dog him, right? Unless the fans really start going at David Morrell, talking about how much he lost, and you're scared of Katav, and you really lost, and you're part of the problem, or whatever. And he gets all up in his feelings. But outside of that, I don't think Morrell gives this guy a rematch. However, I do believe if there's a little bit more of a spotlight on Imam Katav, I think he could probably get himself back into the squared circle with Morrell after a few fights, as long as he just doesn't fade away. Because he was fun to watch, man. I do want to see him fight some more. But you guys let me know, man. Did Morrell really win this fight, Holmes, in your eyes? Because I'm like, nah, dog. It didn't happen. Good fight, good fight. But to me, I thought it was pretty easy to see that Imam Khattab won. But you guys let me know. Cholo Choclos, Tres Chingones Boxing. Shots all the chingones y chingonas. Catch you guys on next round.